Hello, everybody. I am Ben Parker. Welcome to the Box Score Network. That is Austin Freed, and that is Shane Ratliff, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. You also see the Pro Football Enterprises logo. We are all linked together at sister networks. We are all on both networks, so you'll see us at many different times and many different ways. Tonight's prospect is Peter Woods. We'll get to that in just a second. I did want to show you guys the great wall of prospects that we've done. It's over 70 guys, okay? Now we're reaching back to summer with some of these. So obviously some of our opinions have changed on some of these guys. That's going to happen. There's still some good content there about what kind of player they are, but some of them may have upped their game during the past season. Some of them may have fallen off a little bit. Still very good stuff there, but a lot of recent stuff too. A lot of these guys we hit hard and we hit them recently. So Pro Football Enterprises, Box Score Network, you'll find prospects on both channels, and we encourage you if there's a guy there that you're interested in, either for your team or just for the study that you're doing as well, go check it out. Tonight's player, Peter Woods from Clemson. He is 6'3". He is 315 pounds listed. We may talk about that weight, but that's what shows up most on the internet. Austin, I'm going to let you start as usual. I've got a pile of notes. I'm sure Shane's got a bunch of notes. Austin, take it away, man.
Yeah, so talking about defensive tackles here, he is slightly on the shorter side. I don't even know if that 6'3" is real. That seems like it might be a little exaggerated. He looks a little squatty out there on the
Right.
shorter side. But he does look like he's got some length in his arms, which is nice. And I think ultimately I would trade off shorter body for longer arms in a prospect, I think, most of the time, anyways. But this guy is pretty freaky athletically. Like for a guy who's 315 pounds, he can absolutely move. He has really good, like a really, really good first step and acceleration. So I really like that about him. I think he uses that speed to like when he's going up against a guard, he is really able to cross a guard's face pretty quickly. I noticed that a few times, and he really balances his move set. Like he has a really nice blend of that speed that he has to some pretty decent raw power, and I think the power is a little bit less than the speed, but definitely still in the plus territory. Like he definitely is a very strong guy. And I think he has really, really good hands,
Hmm.
just powerful, strong hands. When you see him get his hand on like the outside shoulder of a guard, you see them, fully make that turn. And that's really what I'm talking about when I say the power. It's really good in his hands. When I'm talking about, what all this kind of adds up to, it is a really well-rounded player who I think has both run defense chops and pass rush chops. I don't think either one of them is like all world. What I would say, if you're just going off like kind of a plus system, he is a plus run defender and a plus pass rusher. I don't think he's plus plus at either one of those. But it's a really, really strong base that he's got, and I think he's going to be pretty highly drafted.
Austin, very good. I'm going to hit on a couple things, almost quote what you said in my notes as well. But Shane, it is your turn, man.
Well, I mean, the first couple of things Austin hit on, I think, are kind of the most important when you're talking about Woods. Explosive, like Austin said, first step, I think, is probably one of the better ones along the defensive line. Really gets off his feet well. I kept on writing down Dancing Bear. Like you said, he's got good size, he's got good short body strength. I think his hands are some of the best that I've seen this year. Extremely heavy, like Austin said. When he puts the full punch in, you can see him disrupt guards coming at him, tackles trying to block down at him. Um, and I think when he's engaged, he's a D lineman that will run 20 yards down the field to go hit somebody.
Hmm.
But there's also plays where you don't see that from him. He stands up sometimes. He gets people underneath him. Um, the big thing for me is you look at the talent, the speed, and everything like that. And I understand playing in a defensive line, especially the positions that Clemson has in play, it's hard to always blast your numbers. But for me, the numbers of what you see didn't always match up with the level of talent that I think he has. Um, I really came back to what Austin said. I think he's good across the board, but he doesn't have one element where you go, that's a plus plus guy, where it's just there's nobody else that matches up against him in that way. And I think for some of that, that's where his moves become predictable because he's okay at he's fast to get off the ball and he has some strength, but I don't think he uses those skills all the time in the right order to kind of set some of these moves up for himself.
That's very good. The two of y'all put together basically have got close to what my notes are. So, those of you in the audience, there's a little bit of duplication here, a lot. Just hang with us here. Before I even start on the notes, Shane, you mentioned Dancing Bear. It's not even in my notes, so I got to mention it right now. He does remind me of an offensive tackle. When I look at the way he plays, I think in an alternate universe, he could have been a left tackle or a right tackle. The term Dancing Bear there, he's got that kind of
Well, I
power, athleticism.
part of that though, Ben, I think hits on exactly what Austin said. I think this is a case of where we're putting our height and weight stats based on what the strength team says and not what we're actually walking around at. Because if he was a true 6'3", you would have thought that somebody would have been like, this guy is dangerous out
Right.
here as an offensive lineman. But if you're closer to 6'1", it's a lot easier for me to play you at DT than it is for me to play you
Right.
outside. So I think you're really hitting on something there, Ben, too, as well with that. I think that leads me to believe, especially with the way tackles get paid these days, that, if you were that type and that size already, that offensive line would have been somebody who had came down after him.
Yeah, I agree because we even see that in college, right? Because I'm always thinking, well, high school they would convert, but hey, even early years of college, somebody's going to grab you if they think they can slide you over to, a position like that. And Austin already mentioned the height being a little bit in question there. So, okay, here we go. This is a large, very strong man. Looks to be sometimes, y'all hit on the inconsistency, sometimes looks to be an immovable object. Not every play, but there are plays where it looks like they just cannot move him, because he decided he didn't want to be moved. Strong lower body. I like the strong upper body, strong arms. We've already mentioned the hands. Strong against double teams, not dominant, but strong against double teams. I really like the strength and power. Y'all mentioned the athleticism and the speed. He's athletic enough to make a play anywhere on the defensive line. So from tackle to tackle, basically, he can move within that phone booth type of stuff. He can get around. When he already mentioned the quick feet. He will make plays at times outside the box or at second level. So his athletic skills are good enough for him to chase plays down. And again, he's not going to make his living doing that. All right. So don't look for that from one play to the next. But there are times where he can hunt things downfield, and there are times where he can go chase it down to the end of the line. I mean, he's got that foot speed, athleticism combo. So, um, speed is not his greatest game, so don't think of him as like an edger. That's not him. But this is a guy who can play all the positions on the defensive line: tackle, edge, big edge. He's got that. So just tremendous there. Really takes two strong offensive linemen to stop him. But those double teams are often effective from the more talented schools, not the lower schools, but the more talented schools. I didn't see him splitting double teams from the bigger schools as much as I maybe would have liked from, say, a top five type of a pick, right? So if you're going to draft in top five, and I don't mind if people do that, I would like to see him split in a few more double teams than what I saw him doing against some of the bigger schools. Again, we're starting to nitpick between great and good, right? One way to attack him is flow of play, misdirection. You can get him, and again, I already mentioned he's capable of moving up and down the line and chasing to second level. But once you misdirect him, feel like the running play is going one way or the quarterback's going one way, it is hard for him to get past that wall of blockers back again to get into the play. So that's a really good way to attack what he is doing. Give me 1 second here. Try it back in here. Has at least two good pass rush moves, but he really seems to prefer just using his strength more often. He's got a couple of moves, but I didn't see him using those as much as I would like, to be honest. It seemed like he was more happy to just shove people out of the way. So I figure once he gets to the NFL, he's going to have to dip into the bag of moves a little bit more often than what he's doing. Austin, you mentioned really, really good versus the run, but not elite shutdown. Between missed tackles and overplaying one side sometimes, I don't think he's an elite run stopper, but he's really good. That he really is. Teams generally do not run at him. It's very difficult. You're not going to make a living running the football at him. So teams are going to shy away from that a lot, even though he is not elite. Really good at pressuring the quarterback. Austin, you mentioned that. But again, you mentioned he's not plus plus, Austin. Not as many of those turned into sacks as I would like. You know, when I watched the film, and again, I'm not looking at the stats, pressure to sack ratio. I don't even care. When I watch the film, I see him getting pressure, but it's like, man, for as many times as he's breaking through, I'd love to see a few more sacks coming out of that. So again, plus side, but maybe not plus plus. The fact that offenses will have to invest so much time accounting for him is the best indicator of how good he is. He absorbed a lot of double teams, and you could see them frequently running plays away from him. So that's always great indicators of how good he is and of how concerned teams are about him. I have on occasion seen guys strong arm him or long arm him fairly successfully in 25, but that's not the norm. His best work to me is at defensive tackle, and it's on passing downs. That's where I like him best. He's good at all of it. He can play the big edge, he can stop the run, but I liked him best at defensive tackle, and I liked him best on passing downs. I thought was his the best that he could be right now out of what I've seen. So I've got him as a top 10 guy right now. I'm not necessarily feeling top five, although I don't mind if a team does it. That's about where I'm at. So Austin, back to you, man. Anything you want to talk about here, and then about where you would draft him?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up his conditioning
Mm,
because
yeah,
he seemed to lose gas in like the third quarter. Like there's plenty of times when it comes down to 2 minutes left in the game, those big boys, I mean they're heaving. But I saw him like late in some third quarters, like hands on head, and obviously like I think he's a high motor guy. Like he plays with effort, as Shane mentioned. Like we saw you saw him make plays all over the field at times, but other times you see him like completely out of gas. And I don't think it's an effort thing. I think it is purely a stamina thing. And I'm wondering if maybe dropping some weight would be what's best for
mm.
him. I don't know what his playing weight is, generally speaking. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the interview with Darnell Washington that the St. Brown brothers did,
Hmm.
where he's listed at like 265 and they asked him what his playing weight is and it's over 300 pounds. He's playing like 50 pounds heavier than his listed weight because that's just what the realism is these guys aren't listed at their correct weights. They get weighed before season during workouts when they're either trying to be bulkier or lighter for something, and then they play at a completely different weight sometimes. So I don't know what his playing weight is. It might be heavier than 315. I don't think it is, but if it is, he might want to consider dropping weight. I don't know what the Clemson coaching staff has him doing, or whatever NFL program he went to would have him on. The other thing I wanted to mention was fullback. Like, did you guys see the reps of him? 2 touchdowns.
I saw one. I didn't see all of them. Yes,
Yeah, he had 8 carries for 15 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like the guy is an athlete. Like
right.
I genuinely think he could drop some weight and potentially be like a power edge kind of hybrid type. I think he could stay at his current weight and be more of a traditional three tech. I do think that just pure athleticism is something that I believe in as an evaluator. And when I see somebody who can carry the ball and look good at it, not like a lot of these other defensive tackles when you give them the ball and you're like, oh, that. I mean, I guess it works, but like he actually looks like an athlete, and I think that's one of the biggest things for me, and that's why I think I would probably right now have like a back end of the first round grade on him, to
Hmm.
maybe an early day two grade. I think that's kind of where I'm sitting at. Um, I wish the production was there, Ben, as you mentioned. If he had 2 sacks this season, I think three the year
Yeah.
prior.
Yeah.
If the production had ultimately been there and he was getting, 5 sacks this season, I think then we could talk about like a pretty high in the first round to mid first round. But with kind of everything piecing together, I would be comfortable taking him probably outside the 25th pick. Anything later than that, I'd be pretty comfy right as of now till we see combine numbers.
Austin, that's a great point about the weight because I didn't think about it until you mentioned it. I'm not always thinking about adjusting the guy's weight. That's really good. I actually like that. Okay. And again, sometimes an idea sounds great, it doesn't work out. But I really like what you're talking about there about shedding weight because you think, and listen, I'm not trying to say he's Aaron Donald, but I compare guys to the greatness, right? Aaron Donald
Mhm.
was what, 6'1, 185, 285, something like that. He wasn't tipping over 300. If Woods could, because I already said I liked his work at defensive tackle and I liked his pass rushing work the best. If he would shed a little weight, add a little muscle, I could see him splitting more of those double teams and still being able to move over to big edge, like you said, a lot more. I really like that idea. And again, whatever NFL team he lands on is going to, ultimately help him decide that. But I really like that idea. And you mentioned the conditioning possibility. That is a big deal for a lot of these big guys, because even if they've been working out hard all off season, when you're carrying weight that maybe perhaps you don't really want to carry, it's going to drain your battery quicker, right? So I really like that. We'll let Shane jump in on that here in a second, but Austin, I really like that idea. I think that's a fantastic idea based on the film I've seen and what I do and don't like about him. So Shane, to you, where you might draft him and what else you want to talk about here.
So I think Austin kind of has it locked in. Yeah, I think he's a late first round guy, just because I think people are going to start to pick apart more and more game film, and they're going to see exactly like Austin said, tired in the third quarter,
Hmm.
3 years of production, no more than 30 tackles a season, no more than 3 sacks. So like normally what happens with a guy of his talent level, first year, you're a rookie, you figure it out, maybe not outstanding numbers. That sophomore year, you have a freakish year, and then that's when your junior year to decide, okay, this is the only guy on the defensive line we need to block.
Yes.
That really hasn't happened in his numbers. And he hasn't really played with outstanding other defensive linemen at Clemson, as that they've had some talent in the years past, but not really with him these last couple of years. The thing I think that will shoot him up, like I said, I wouldn't pick him until the later in the first, but I think combine numbers are going to be absolutely ridiculous. Short shuttle is going to be scary. From what they've talked about on Bruce Feldman's freak lease, the amount of strength this guy has in the like 34 reps in the 225 test. So I mean, if he throws up any of these numbers, teams are going to jump up to go look at him. But I think it's a case of where you see this talent, but the numbers don't show themselves. I think he's a guy that's going to need a specific scheme to help him. Um, and he'd really be helped if he does stay in that big defensive tackle, if he has an absolute monster to the side of him where he can really use that speed and he's not asked to
Right.
weigh down one side for him.
Yes. No, totally agree. That's excellent work, Shane. I totally agree with all of that. And again, I've got him higher than you guys do, but I really like this guy. Totally agree about the way we're seeing this guy, what the possibilities might be for him, where he might need to adjust and get a little bit better, even. So I really like that. I'm with you because a lot of people were just singing his praises back in August, and I got to look at the tape, and I was like, I really like him, but I don't quite like him as good as what some of them are saying. But I still like him top 10 based on what I've seen. I think dancing bear is probably a great term for that combined with the strength that I saw. But that's excellent work, y'all. On Peter Woods, he will be drafted this year, and he will have a chance to make an impact next year. So, all right, anybody else with anything before we shut it down, man? Thank y'all very much for listening. By the way, we have, like we said, a bunch of other prospects on this channel and on the other channel as well. So go check it out. That's Peter Woods from Clemson, everybody. Have a great one. Good night.